Hey, tired of sitting at home? Yeah, I know that's a dumb question, but it's my job. So, how about going on a trip? Let's say to the Bahamas. You could live on an island and swim in the ocean for a couple of weeks. You can even take your own accommodation. That's right, we're gonna tie your house to some balloons. Well, probably not your actual house, because that'd take more than 12 million balloons to lift one that's 1,600 square feet. But you could build, say, a little 190 square foot cabin that only needs 1.5 million balloons to make it fly. You on board? Good. Now, before we get going though, we need to figure something out. What usually happens to a balloon when it's released into the sky? Well, let's see. As it gets higher, the temperature and pressure around the balloon begin to fall. But the pressure inside stays the same, which makes the balloon constantly expand, kinda like me. It travels upwards for about an hour and a half and reaches a height of about 28,000 feet or 5 miles. That's only a little less than the altitude that planes fly at. That's when it goes pop, and the little pieces fall all the way back to the ground. Well, that doesn't sound very safe. But we don't need to go that high into the sky. Well, I feel better. Slightly. Also, about 5% of balloons don't rise high enough to explode. They float around closer to the ground and sooner or later they come back down safely. That sounds way better. And sometimes, these traveling balloons can bring good news. In 2019, a little girl from Australia attached a holiday wish list to a balloon and released it into the sky. The balloon managed to travel more than 1,550 miles and ended up in Russia. A farmer found it there and looked at the letter, but he couldn't understand it. The only thing he could work out was that it was written by a child. He managed to translate it and found out it was a request for presents for the holiday season from a girl named Sophia. The man knew straight away he had to make her wishes come true. He raised money to buy the presents for her and even managed to find out who the girl was and where she lived. He contacted her parents and hired someone to deliver the presents to her on the special day. Aww. One balloon can bring a miracle, but dealing with 1.5 million of them is a big responsibility. The Balloonfest '86 was a fundraising event that took place in the city of Cleveland, Ohio. The goal was to set a new world record by releasing a huge number of balloons into the air. They wanted to release 2 million of them, and it took 6 months to organize. Before the event, lots of volunteers had to spend a long time filling all the balloons with helium. Then the day came, September 27, 1986. The weather that day didn't want to cooperate. It was cold and cloudy, and a storm was approaching. The organizers didn't want everything to be ruined, so they decided to release the balloons earlier, when only around 1.4 million of them were ready. Just as it started to rain in the early afternoon, the balloons were released into the gray sky, setting a new world record. The colorful cloud filled the square. First, they were blown northwards by the wind. But as the rain became heavier, the balloons were pushed back down. The storm carried them back into the city. The whole area, including Lake Erie, was covered in them. It caused a load of trouble for everyone. Some of them landed on an airport runway, and it had to shut down for half an hour, which caused a lot of delays. Some drifted onto the roads, distracting drivers and causing collisions. The ones that ended up in the lake washed ashore not only in Cleveland, but also on the other side, in Canada. So, you gotta be very careful on your balloon trip. To be on the safe side, we'll pick a nice sunny day with a totally clear sky. Okay, let's get ready. First, you'll need to build yourself a little 190 square foot house with everything you'll need in it – a kitchen, bedroom, and bathroom. Then, you gotta make a net that will hold all your balloons in place as you fill them with air. Finally, get your 1.5 million balloons and a whole lot of helium and get started on filling them up. Now, I should warn you, if you're working alone and it takes around 20 seconds to fill each one, then you'll spend an entire year filling them all up. And every week, some of them will deflate, so you'll finish around, actually, never. So it might be a good idea to get some help with that. Call all your friends, family, and neighbors, go out and make some new friends, have a high school reunion, whatever it takes, and ask them to come help you. You spend the whole day and the next morning getting the balloons ready. When it's done, there's only one detail left – steering. You'll need something like a wheel to control your cabin's direction if the wind changes. Find a long stick and place it between two opposing windows. It should be long enough for the two ends to jut outside. Hang curtains to both ends and attach some string at the bottom. Using the strings, you'll be able to control the curtains like sails. Finally, you're ready to go. There's not a cloud in the sky. The wind is blowing southeast and it'll take you right where you need to go. Perfect. There's not going to be any internet in the sky, so take a compass, a map, and a parachute just in case. Now get yourself cozy in your new flying home. Soon your helpers cut the net and the balloons take you up into the air. It worked! Every second, the people on the ground become smaller and smaller, and you get to see some beautiful scenery. All that hard work was totally worth it. Alright, half an hour of gazing out the window is enough. You only have an hour left until you reach the height where your balloons will all burst. If you don't do anything about it, you'll be heading back to the ground very fast. So grab something sharp and go up to the roof. You have to pop some of the balloons so that they stop taking you upwards but still maintain your height. Don't pop too many though, because they'll start deflating slowly and you need them to carry you all the way to the Bahamas. Once you're done, go back down and spread out the curtains to get some additional speed. You can adjust them to make sure you're flying in the right direction. Now that you're finished with that, you can relax again. The wind is about 5 miles per hour, so you'll need around 31 hours to travel 154 miles from Miami, Florida. You're now several hours into your journey and you notice that the wind has slightly changed direction. At this rate, you'll end up in the Atlantic. Use your sails to make sure you're going the right way. Or, there's an easier option. You just have to move a little to the right inside your cabin to lose some weight on one side. That way, you'll tilt the house and change the direction. You're basically your own steering wheel. Night sets in. You set your alarm clock to wake you up every half an hour. You need to constantly control things if you want to go in the right direction. 30 hours later, in the afternoon, you can finally see the island as you approach it. At this point, you're floating no more than 1,200 feet above the ground. That's a little lower than the height of the Empire State Building. Since you're almost there, you climb up to the roof to prepare for your landing. Another hour passes. You reach the shore and spot a cozy place ahead where you can bring down your flying cabin. You start popping the balloons. Your cabin begins to rapidly descend. Now you can even see the shocked faces of the people gazing up at you, and you wave to one of them. There are still thousands of balloons above you when you hear the sound of the house softly landing onto the sand. You step out of the cabin. Time for a frosty cold tropical beverage. Wait, what's that? A large shadow passes over you, and you turn to see your cabin with the balloons floating high above, now liberated from the ballast of your weight. Hold on, better make that 2 frosty beverages.